Hello and welcome to episode 148 of PubShorts. We are calling it the Crawl. Calling it Crawl. My name is Dr. KK. I'm the Innovation Officer at Inago. And I have with me Tony, who actually knows people from the band from where we picked up the song.
That's a bit tenuous. I won't say I know them, but they're all from Bristol, and my daughter lived across the road from one of them once. But that's about it. That's about as close as I've got. Oh no, and also my dentist used to study dentistry with the guitarist.
Right.
So that's about it. That's about as close as it gets.
All right.
Hello and welcome to Pub Shorts. I'm Tony O'Rourke, VP of Partnerships here at Inago, and this episode 148 of Pub Shorts is called Crawl, as KK rightly says, and we like to give episodes a theme and name them after songs, and this particular episode is no different. This particular episode is called Crawl because we named it after a song by the band Idols, which is what KK is referred to, the song Crawl. The episode is about crawling through peer review. It's the alleged decline of peer review, the alleged decline, I think it's important to say there, reproducibility debates, updated guidelines, and new approaches to keep it moving, albeit at a slow pace.
Right. All right. So we'll kick off things with the first story. It is an archive preprint titled "Is Peer Review Really in Decline? Analyzing Review Quality Across Venues and Time." So it's a long article, obviously. So these are my points. This study challenges the narrative of declining peer review quality, as Tony rightly pointed out, by examining AI and machine learning conferences. A new multi-dimensional framework of peer review quality was introduced, enabling comparative studies across venues. And methodologies include analyzing review structures and review and using LLMs for assessment. So there are some, methodological. It's a fun paper to read if you're into these kind of nerdy computer science papers. Now, the most important thing: no significant decline was found in median quality of reviews over time, contrary to popular belief. And the recommendations offered are for improving future studies, like this, and understanding diverse review formats. So because these also have to be factored in. So as Tony rightly said, this is an alleged drop in the quality of peer review and not necessarily a factual proof as per this study. So, Tony, do you want to elaborate on that point?
No. No, I'm just thinking, computer scientists talking about the importance of peer review in computer science. But we both know that AI and peer review is becoming an increasing reality. The important thing about the use of AI and peer review is the human guardrails. But we're developing our own AI tools for peer review. They're getting better and better. The quality of the reports are improving all the time. But we always urge this: it has to be together with some kind of human guardrail, some kind of human oversight.
Yep.
Otherwise, I think you're leaving yourself open to possible failure.
And Tony, what you just said, I think, is exactly what ACS Nano an ACS Nano editorial is always talking about. It is published late last month. Peer review and AI, that is the reviewer, human opinion is what matters. So it is written by a large group of editors and discusses the increasing use of AI in scientific peer review. They acknowledge the challenges of current peer review systems like reviewer overload and bias. And the authors of the research, which is basically editors, strongly emphasize that human opinion and expertise are irreplaceable in peer review, which is exactly, Tony, this is what you just said. And AI lacks the critical thinking, skills, nuance, and accountability, and cannot truly assess scientific innovation. So using AI for peer review is a breach of ethics and confidentiality, as it violates the trust placed in reviewers and could expose submitted manuscript to commercial entities, which is another reason why our peer review assistant is modeled on locally deployed machines, so that we don't send the data to, let's say, the public commercial AI enterprises.
Yeah.
And a good review needs to be constructive, specific, and assesses scientific value and the context of the paper, recognizing the human element involved in research and the learning process of authors, especially early career researchers. So while AI can assist in many of these things, AI cannot replace it, and humans still remain in the center of peer review. That is the main thrust of the article, and I think this is what you said. And I just want to briefly bring to attention, I mean, I recently got one of my articles published in the Scholarly Kitchen. I think, Tony, you might have read it already, and it discusses sort of displacement that AI creates, and it sort of destroys a human connect. It has been doing that, and as a society, as a community, we need to sort of find that human connect again, and navigate through this sort of complex, turbulent times where AI potentially could be replacing some aspect of who you consider yourself to be. What are your thoughts on it?
No, I agree. But from a broader societal perspective, so much has changed in the last 10 years. I mean, gosh, I'm I'm not a young person anymore, but I still like to think I'm in touch, with society and what society's doing. But so much has changed even in the last 5 years, in terms of how people behave, how people think, how people interact with each other. Um, AI is just part of that
Mhm.
process. But if people are sort of living their lives through their devices, through their screens, through their phones, whatever it might be, um, I do worry about the future of sort of human interaction
Right.
in the yeah.
Right. So,
So that's philosophical thought over,
all right.
particularly this time in the morning.
All right. And moving on to another AI in peer review kind of a topic. This is an archive preprint, and I'm showing you the abstract. I have the PDF loaded if needed. So this paper, titled "Preventing the Collapse of Peer Review Requires Verification First AI," and it argues that AI in peer review should focus on verification, not just mimicking human review. And they
Yeah,
propose truth coupling, measuring how well venue scores reflect the actual scientific truth as the key objective for AI tools. So the two issues that can cause a phase transition to proxy sovereign evaluation and verification pressure from too many claims and signal shrinkage, making real progress hard to detect. So this is obviously it's a a praise from this part of the abstract. It's basically it's suggesting that AI cannot be used to or replace the human component, but it can verify whether whatever is
yeah,
discussed is accurate. So
yeah,
human has to overview it. And
yeah,
so the author suggests the AI could be an adversarial auditor in terms of looking at or critiquing the peer reviewer, or even for that matter the researcher, and not necessarily sort of taking over the role of the reviewer themselves, which is pretty much what we discussed. Do you have any further thoughts on this topic?
no, I think we mentioned this in the last episode of
Yeah.
PubShorts. We talked about, if there is a role. Yeah, listen, I do think AI, certain AI tools are good at not critiquing, but certainly summarizing
Mm.
research and creating really sort of good, clear summaries. And yes, I think there is a role to be able for the AI to push back in terms of some of the findings of the researcher. I think that kind of interaction is a very positive one. It's almost it's almost a pedagogic process to do that. So yeah, no, I think there is. It's an interesting article. I think it supports what I believe.
Mm. All right, moving on to a controversial statement which was covered as a feature story in a previous Journalology episode. This is from Research Professional News, and it's titled "Reproducibility Crisis." Quote, a little bit exaggerated, end quote, suggests ERC, European Research Council chief. So the Maria Leptin, is that right? Yeah, Maria Leptin, president of the European Research Council, stated at the World Economic Forum that the reproducibility crisis in science may be exaggerated. She acknowledged issues like cultural pressures and pressure to publish can lead to corners being cut or even fraud being in place. However, she stressed that frontier research is inherently difficult and that science ultimately auto corrects itself as unreliable findings are eventually discovered. And she also highlighted open science practices, which are in where methods and results and data are shared, are crucial for facilitating replication and identifying flaws. She also emphasized the importance of publicity and policymaker understanding of the scientific method's self-correcting nature. So I'd like to pause here and ask you this question: do you think this is undercutting the crisis, or do you also side with Maria in terms of the reproducibility crisis being exaggerated? Because I think I disagree with the fact. I mean, in the sense, obviously, somebody in her position might want to say this, but at the same time, as an industry, we must also figure out a way to actually fix the crisis and not just sort of assume that science will auto correct itself. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot in that phrase. How much is a little bit? I mean, if there is any kind of reproducibility problem, it's a problem that needs to be addressed. I mean, clearly, look, the European Commission through its DGs are getting so many research grants, research funding requests. The vast majority of them can be good, valid, sound scientific reasons for wanting to support them. And they should maybe looking at that percentage of being a very small proportion of those which might have risks of lack of reproducibility. But the fact is, it still exists. It's a crisis until the point where there is no reproducibility problems. The only papers that can be reproduced, only research that can be reproduced, is being published, being communicated.
Right. Moving on to the next story. It is an ICMJE update. So this is updated ICMJ recommendations January 2026. I think I have not yet gone through the entire PDF yet, but I hope to do that. But the updates basically involved, these are the main things: expanded guide on the use of artificial intelligence in publishing, and the authors access to their own data. So these are covered as mentioned in section 5 and section 3.L.2. Apart from updating guidelines on sponsor agreements and scientific misconduct, clinical trial registration, and reporting the sources of support. So, Tony, I realized that I should have made notes on the PDF itself. Have you had a chance to take a look at it, or should we postpone it to another episode when we read
I
through?
think we should, just to let you know, readers, that ICMJE is the International Council of Medical Journal Editors, in case you were wondering why we were referring to it.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next story. This is very interesting. The STM Association is back at it with the author disclosure of AI assistance bit. So it is a news press release posted on 27th of January 2026. It's titled "Global Reporting Standard for AI Disclosure and Research. First consultation is open." So the most important thing, the STM Trade Association is working with partners like COPE, ISC, and GYA on a global reporting standard for AI disclosure in research. If you remember, in last April, they provided they published the draft guidelines, which were finalized in September last year, in terms of where they stand, 9 categories of AI use, as well as what they recommend publishers to do or not do. We just had a couple of stories from Scholarly Kitchen as to what publishers should be doing in terms of an opinion. So this initiative is a focus track for the World Conference on Research Integrity in Montreal in May 2026. The first consultation round is open until February 28, 2026, and to map the needs and preferred formats for AI disclosure. And STM members are encouraged to review preparatory reading and submit feedback via the provided form. The effort is obviously aimed to create a shared understanding of how AI use should be disclosed in research publications. So I'll just move to the our video. So Tony, what are your thoughts on this? And also, this is sort of similar to what the workshop that myself, as well as our colleague Mary Miskin are a part of in Researcher to Reader conference next week, February 24th and 21st in the BMA house in London. So what do you think? I mean, there are many sort of, I think, fragmented efforts, but STM's effort is obviously much bigger with other associations being involved. What do you think? All of this should eventually lead to this one consolidated sort of a truth, source of truth for everybody in the research sphere to understand what AI disclosure should be and how the format should be. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, what STM, and I've applauded STM many times during these podcasts. STM is absolutely right to be able to want to establish norms and standards for publishers, because they more than anybody else are concerned about the risks at the moment. They're associated with loss of integrity, loss of research integrity in academic publishing. Their members are publishers. Their members are the people actually presenting this content. So unless they're there to help their members to sort of promote and to give them guidelines for what is good and what isn't good practice, then we all have a problem. My concern, I suppose, overall, is that how does this translate down to the work of the everyday researcher, to the head of department, to the head of research funding, to the head of research for an institution? How do those messages get clearly communicated so they also understand what best practice is? And this is what we were doing with the responsible AI movement, is to try and share that just beyond the publishing world into the world of research as well.
And where can somebody who's interested know more about the responsible AI movement, Tony?
Yeah, we've spoken about this before, and I'm sure we'll talk about it again. Just do search, use your browser, use search for Inago Responsible AI Movement, and there's a new website going to be launched quite soon. I'm not sure it's live just yet, where you'll be able to sign up.
Right.
Completely free.
Yeah. For some,
lots of really good resources on there as well.
I don't know if Tony, you heard it, but one of my ALEXA devices got triggered with the last question that I asked you for no reason. I don't know why it got.
I didn't hear it. No.
Okay, no. I hope nobody heard it. But anyway,
my cat screaming at me through the door for the last 5 minutes.
No. Are you ready for quick hits? The question that I often ask you.
My cat and I are ready for quick hits.
All right. The first quick hit that we have is it is Karma. This is from Journal of Medical Internet Research. It is an initiative for recognizing reviewers' contribution to science. Now, this basically means that reviewers can earn 90 karma points for each completed peer review, which translate to approximately $1 in karma credits. When I saw it first, I thought it was too less, and it was like a joke. But what are your thoughts on it? Is this too low, or is anything good at all for recognizing the efforts of a peer review?
I don't want to talk specifically about this particular yet another means of rewarding. There are so many models in place. I mean, I just think, we had someone like Publons has been available for many years. Reviewer credit's been available for many years. Yeah, I applaud, innovation in this idea. And yes, I do believe reviewers need to be incentivized in some way. But there are plenty of ways of incentivizing the reviewer rather than sort of create some kind of like club
Right.
or sort of card point system. I don't think that's the way. I'm not sure that's necessarily the way, but it would be interesting to see how this evolves.
All right. The next one is from research information from somebody I think you are familiar with. Is that right? Steve Smith. Do you know this person?
I no, I don't think I
Okay,
do.
fine. I thought I must have mistaken it for the another somebody like Steve Smith, but that's my mistake. It shows my biases.
The only
So,
Steve Smith is that I'm aware of is that he used to be the drummer of the rock band Journey.
well,
I don't think it's him.
well, I think we've talked about Steve Smith in this context. That's why I remember, because the
Yeah.
one Steve Smith that I know is the captain, or the stand-in captain of the American, sorry, the Australian cricket team. But anyway,
Okay. Oh
never mind.
yes, of course. There's two Steve
Yeah,
Smiths. Yes, yeah.
yes.
I try not to think about Australian cricket too much
I
for
wonder
obvious
why.
reasons.
Yes. So this one is a very interesting article. I think it resonates with me and my stance of where peer review is, and I think yours as well. So it is titled "After the PDF: A New Unit of Knowledge for the AI Era." So it's in summary, it discusses the fact that PDF is not quite fit for the current world with AI, and the Steve Smith argues that we should sort of move to this concept called the knowledge object, because PDF is a lossy format. So what is a knowledge object? It involves structuring knowledge explicitly with assets, context, and provenance in discoverable formats for AI to sort of find instead of just a PDF. So you can deconstruct or granularize the knowledge in a PDF into these knowledge objects with all these three components, and that will help discoverability as well as accuracy in terms of somebody, let's say, using an AI tool to find the information. And this, from the publisher point of view, they need to shift their business models from content ownership to context stewardship, by providing verified structured relationships within these knowledge objects. And Tony, I have never nodded like, I don't know, stronger to any article while I read through it. I don't know what you think about it. Do you also agree that PDF is relatively redundant and we need to move to something like this, especially considering provenance in mind?
I can't remember the number of times we've spoken about the PDF as being some kind of historical artifact. The fact is, it's not Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's something that researchers are using today. Yes, I'm sure there are better ways of communicating that content in a clear, in a safe way, in an engaging and in a transformative manner. I'm not sure the word knowledge object is particularly new either. Frank Zappa used to talk about knowledge objects in his music 40 years ago. But where he's right is that the world of academic content has a way of generating content has changed in the last
Mm-hmm.
10 years, 5 years. The way it's presented online isn't necessarily changing to the same extent. So I think there's got to be better ways of
Mm.
communicating content, and also the point he makes about the role of the publisher. I think he is right in
Mm.
that it's going to be less and less about owning the content,
Right.
having rights assigned to you. It's more about how that content has been presented to the researcher
Yeah.
and what the researcher can do with it.
Excellent. Context stewardship, as he calls it. Moving on to the next quick hit: author disclosure of use of AI in submissions to 13 JAMA network journals, and it is quite disappointing. So this study found that about only 3.3% of manuscripts submitted declared AI use. The number went up over time. AI was mostly used to help with language. It was also used for statistics, data analysis, and drafting. But more importantly, Tony, manuscripts that were rejected or withdrawn were more likely to report AI use. Now, you can interpret it two different ways, that the disclosure led to the rejection, or you can also interpret it as disclosure means that AI use has been there and hence there were potential quality slash research integrity concerns. But this is concerning. 2 points here, 3.3%, which I think is like 1/10 or even 1/20th of what AI disclosure should be, in my opinion, and the sort of correlation between AI disclosure as well as rejection. What are your thoughts on these points?
Um, First of all, I welcome this kind of research. If it's not being mandated and if there are no sort of penalties for fair use, then unfortunately researchers will play the game. Not every researcher, but there will be a very small proportion that will want to um, gamify the process. And it is increasing over time, of course, but I think there needs to be some kind of carrot and stick process in place so that researchers absolutely understand what the implications are if they do present content that's been generated by AI or falsified content in any way. So that's got to be upfront. We need to do. The publishing industry needs to do everything it can to reduce retractions, to increase confidence in the process for the wider community. Because otherwise, we've got a long-term problem.
So I think this must be the episode where we inadvertently mentioned so many different other music references. I think you started with Steve Smith. We've already mentioned Frank Zappa, and now you mentioned The Game, which is the famous song from Motorhead. So lots and lots of references inadvertent. I don't
Or
know.
Queen.
All right. So
Play the
moving.
game.
Yes, and finally, sorry, second last quick hit. Journal retracts nearly 150 articles for compromised peer review. So it's sorry, this should be this. Sorry, this is the one. Okay, I'll start with this. So this is a story of the Journal of Testing and Evaluation for it, and it 147 articles due to compromised peer review processes with the publisher expecting more retractions. The issue was at first flagged by an ASTM vendor who noticed unusual patterns in peer review of a special issue. An investigation confirmed these patterns. So special issue and peer review related problems, but at least the retractions are in place, and investigations need to be put in place, and hopefully such issues will be prevented in the future. Tony, your
Well,
thoughts?
I don't think they'll be prevented. I think we're going to see more and more of them as AI is being increasingly used. But these sort of retraction stories used to shock me when they first came out. They're so every day now. I'm just waiting for the next story to appear in my message box. It is a major cause of concern. But the great thing about it is with these retractions, it's a small step to restoring faith in the process for the wider community.
Right, and this was the second last quick hit that I should have shifted to, but this is now the last quick hit. Is the journal legitimate? Alethea Probe can help you decide. So what is Alethea Probe? It's a tool to evaluate the legitimacy of journals and conferences, and it was featured in this Nature article. The tool aids researchers in discerning between trustworthy and predatory journals by aggregating information across multiple databases. And the probe was first developed by Andreas Florath as a response to needing better tools for evaluating research quality quickly. The tool uses command line interfaces, yeah, very happy for people like me, and delivers results indicating whether a journal is legitimate or predatory with an associated confidence level. So what are your thoughts on it? Do you, I mean, this is obviously a great thing, but there are so many related tools. I think people will find it increasingly difficult to find which is a legitimate tool, which is the most trustworthy tool. Your thoughts, Tony?
Yeah, where does this responsibility lie? This is something that the researcher, the person funding the research, needs to make available. If you're going to have research that's funded by a particular funding organization, that's going to represent you and your university or your research organization, there needs to be some kind of control to say, well, look, part of the process is you need to demonstrate to us that the conference that you're presenting to is a legitimate conference, that the paper that you're sending for publication for peer review is a legitimate journal. You have to have some kind of verification tool, and if this or something like this can provide that verification process, then I welcome it.
All right, that does.
It saves time. It saves time for everyone. It saves time for the publisher. It saves time for the reviewer. It saves time for the author as well.
Right.
Because there are so many predatory journals out there. They look very, very much. Many of them look so much like legitimate journals. We need to have some easy way of A, identifying them, and B, stamping them out as quickly as possible.
Right. Thanks for that, Tony. And that brings us to the end of episode 148. It's called Crawl by Idols. And obviously, we have named all the previous 147 episodes based on the song names of the artists that we love. And the last few have been from this decade itself. And if you want to find more about all these episodes and the songs, Tony will tell you how.
I'll have to use my LLM to analyze the song titles and let the LLM tell us what it thinks about us as two presenters for the themes that we've chosen. Yeah, so obviously all previous 147 episodes are available on the PubShorts playlist over on YouTube. Just search for Inago PubShorts and you'll have access to all of them. We encourage you to press the like button, share it with your colleagues, leave comments. We really look forward to hearing from you, and give us suggestions for future topics.
Right, Tony. Thank you for that. And we've not been talking about music too much in the last episodes, but we do have time. So, Tony, what have you been up to? Any gigs coming up? Any rehearsals? Any gigs that you're going to? All of that.
Yeah, it's been busy. Yesterday was very busy for me musically. I'm in various bands in Bristol, and we did lots of rehearsals. Tonight, I'm going to a folk gig not far from here, and on Friday, I'm going to see We'll go to a rock gig, a band called Smith Kotzen in Bristol, who's Adrian Smith's the guitarist of Iron Maiden. So he's playing a small club in Bristol with Richie Kotzen. So I'm looking forward to that.
Richie Kotzen. Okay, I've got a pedal. Sam pedal. Richie Kotzen.
You would have, yeah. He's a name.
Yeah. All right. So with that, we come to the end. This is the screeching halt for E148 with a bunch of musical references. We will see you in the next one, and I thank everybody, including Tony, to help us create this content for you. And until the next time, this is Dr. Kike signing off. Bye, Tony.
See you next one.